Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Money Talk with Hermie, where I break down the mumbo jumbo of finance so it's easier for you to understand. So, this week's topic is very important. It's also very, very serious. We're just gonna tackle it, and we're gonna grab the bull by its horns and go straight into it. It has 4 letters, and it starts with a big D. No, I'm not talking about that kind of D. Get your mind out of the gutter. I'm talking about debt. So, what is debt? Debt, in its simplest definition, is something that is owed. So, in this case, money. We'll be talking about a few different subjects today, so make sure you pay attention. We'll be talking about bad debt, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, good debt. Yes, I did just say good debt. There's such a thing as good debt. Then we'll be talking about secured versus unsecured types of debts, credit card debts, and what may happen when you fall into the debt cycle, and some tactics and strategies to get yourself out of debt. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Bad debt is when you're borrowing money to purchase a depreciating asset, such as buying a brand new car. It's well known that when you go to a dealership and you purchase a new car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it can lose up to 30% of its value. Worse yet, it continues to lose value over time. You might be wondering, well, why would anyone throw that kind of money away? More often than not, it has nothing to do with our purchase. We go into debt because we lack self-control, and in turn feed our inner consumer. Same thing that goes with clothing as well. Does it really make that much of a difference if you've purchased a $200 pair of jeans versus a $25 pair of jeans? And the same goes for handbags. Unless you're purchasing some sort of $10,000 plus handbag that is supposedly an investment grade piece item, more often than not, buying clothing will depreciate over time. Let's talk about something exciting now. Good debt. Yes, I just said it again. There is such a thing as good debt. Basically, it's the opposite of what bad debt is. You borrow money to purchase an asset that increases in value over time. A great example of this would be like borrowing money to buy real estate. You get a mortgage, which then you become indebted, and then you buy an asset, your home, which will increase in value over time. Another great example would be student loans. Well, you might be wondering, okay, real estate, I can see it, I own it, but student loans? Well, here's the thing. You borrow money to seek a higher education in hopes that it will provide you with a higher standard of living, a better job, better benefits, and overall better quality of life. Doctors and lawyers are probably one of the most indebted people in the world. Well, how did they get there? You might be wondering, well, it's easy for them. They make so much money. 6 figures, no problem. But they actually have to spend so much money on schooling and upkeeping, especially if they have a certain specialty that they are in. They might have to further go back to school and spend tens of thousands of dollars. Now, let me make this very, very clear. As with anything I have just said about good debt, if you have no means of paying it off, or perhaps even no plans to pay it off, then that becomes bad debt. You don't want to go there. Avoid it at all costs. Next up, we have secured and unsecured types of debts. As the name suggests, a secured type of debt is when you offer the lender something of value to secure against your debt. In other words, a collateral. In the previous video, I've briefly mentioned home equity line of credit. This is a very good example, as it is essentially the same thing as a regular line of credit, except you offer the bank your home to secure against the line of credit. In turn, you will get a better interest rate and a higher credit limit. An unsecured type of debt would be like a regular line of credit, where you don't offer the lender any type of assets, and it is basically in good faith that the lender is lending you the money. As with any type of unsecured debt, it is risky for the lender in case that the borrower defaults on the loan. In other words, they don't pay off the loan. That's one of the reasons why the interest rates on a line of credit is higher and the credit limit is a lot lower than, say, a home equity line of credit. Because if the owner of the home equity line of credit defaults on their loans, the bank can seize their assets, in the case, a home, to recoup any costs. Now, what I'm about to tell you next is probably one of the worst type of debts anyone can get themselves into, and that is credit card debt. Credit card debt is also an unsecured type of debt, but it is also the most common type of debt that consumers get themselves into. You might be wondering why that is the case. It's because it's so accessible. It is so easy to get a credit card, a couple clicks online, and you're almost always guaranteed to have it. Accessibility aside, and how ubiquitous it is in society, that's not even the most dangerous part of why credit card debt is the worst. It's the insane amount of interest rate that they charge you for carrying a balance. Let me just tell you this right now. Never, ever carry a credit card balance. They can charge you anywhere from 19.99% to up to 30%. In some cases, even higher than that. So if you were to carry a balance of $500 on a 30% annual interest rate, that is $150 just on interest. Canada's prime lending rate is 2.45%. Now compare that to the average national of 19.99% interest rate on credit cards. Insane, right? Every time you pay off your credit card or not pay it off, it gets reported to institutions called credit bureaus. They basically keep track of all the relationships you have with various lenders in the country. In Canada, the two largest credit monitoring bureaus are Equifax and TransUnion. And from the records they have on you, they assign a score ranging from anywhere between 300 to 900. 560 being and below being poor, 660 to 724 being good, 725 to 759 being very good, and anything above 760 is excellent. This score refreshes every single month, and it is very important for your functioning in society because, as I've mentioned in my previous video on what is credit, it governs your relationship with various lenders and what kind of favorable rates that you may have when you need to borrow from them. Now, say I've lived a frivolous lifestyle and I've never paid my bills off on time and always carried a credit card balance. Fast forward, I'd like to purchase my first home. I go to the bank and I go through the application process with them to get a mortgage. They pull up my file and see that I had a score of 560. As you recalled earlier, anything from 560 to below is considered a poor score, which means I am a high-risk individual. The bank might be asking various questions now, such as, oh, this guy has a history of not paying off his bills on time, carrying balances on his credit card. He's pretty risky. Do we really want to give him this massive mortgage and just to have him default on it? On the flip side, if I were to have an excellent score of 760, they would be looking at my credit file being like, okay, he has a consistent payment on his credit cards, he carries no debt, and he is overall a good risk individual. Therefore, I would have a higher chance of securing a higher loan, plus a loan in general. Now, credit scores are quite an ambiguous topic. Not a lot is known about it other than the fact that it is issued out by credit bureaus. There's a plethora of different factors that go into calculating your credit score. Some of the things I just mentioned is just the few things that may affect your credit score. So let's talk about being in debt. I'm going to exaggerate the scenario so it's easy for everyone to understand. Now I have not paid off my credit card bills. I've racked up these massive amount of debt and I've defaulted on several loans. Now what can happen is the lender, let's just say a bank, what they can do is they can hire a collections agency and have them deal with me. So what they would do is they would contact me and try to set up a schedule of repayment. Their primary job is to recoup as much cost as possible. And this could be something like, oh, if you've paid off X amount of dollars by this date, then we'll lower the overall interest on your balance. But mind you, every action that is being taken against you will be reported to the credit bureaus, which then in turn may affect any future relationships you have with different lenders in the future. The lender may also try and take legal action against you. However, they are unlikely to go this route because it can cost them a lot of money. Unless, of course, you owe them some exorbitant amount of money, then that's a different story. Let's talk about some strategies and tactics to get yourself out of debt. This one is very effective, and it's to consolidate your debt. For instance, I have a line of credit that charges me 6% interest. And I also have 2 credit cards that have a larger balance, and both of them charge me 30% interest. In this case, it would make sense for me to transfer the balance from my 2 credit cards onto my line of credit, because first of all, it's more manageable because I can see it all in one place, and it charges me a significantly lower interest rate than it does with a credit card balance. The next strategy is called the debt snowball method. In this method, you prioritize the highest interest rate debt first. So, in this case, I would say that I have a $5,000 student loan that charges me 3% interest, and I also have a $5,000 balance on my credit card that charges me 29%. So what I would do is, I would pay the minimum on my student loan and then redirect the bulk of my resources into trying to pay off my credit card first. What you're trying to do here is to pay off the credit card balance because it charges you 30% versus the student loan which charges you 3%. So in summary, we often hear about how bad debt is, but when used properly, it's actually a highly effective way to generate wealth. As always, please do your own homework. Everybody's financial situation is very different. There's no judgment here. If you're in debt, don't worry, things will get better, but you need to tackle it right away. Don't let it consume you and let it take control of your life. Talk to someone you trust, like a friend or a family member. There are a lot of resources out there that you can use, but just be careful. There are a lot of unsavory characters out there who may try to scam you. So with that in mind, I'm going to leave you with one of Albert Einstein's quotes. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays for it. If you found value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you would click on the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. And while you're down there, you might as well click on the little bell icon. That way you'll get notified every time I upload content just like this. I'll see you guys next time on Money Talk with Hermie. Goodbye now. But I caution this to people who have student loans. Oh my god. Goodness, what is happening here? So in summary, why is this so freaking difficult? I'll see you guys next time on Hermie's Money Corner. It's Hermie's Financial Corner.